Good morning, students. So yesterday we finished the programming part from the classes and object. Okay, so today I'll be discussing on the solve exercise problems. Okay, now keep in mind that you have to study these points to remember. Also, these points to remember usually sometimes it comes for 1 mark questions also. Okay, and mostly the 1 mark definitions are prepared from here also. Okay, so uh, these exercises also you need to study, you must study. Okay, but do not study only this from the textbook also, which definitions are there, uh, which paragraphs are there, which are important, that also you need to mark out and then you need to study. The programs that I've taught you, that is for understanding that topic, like what is inline function, what is uh, object as function argument, like that. Clear? What is access specifier, like that. So now if you see here in the solve exercise, all the problems are solved and also the answer is given. Okay, but for some of you, since this is the first time, so I'll just explain 1 or 2 programs for you to understand what it means and how you can solve these problems. So usually this kind of problems come for like 2 marks. Okay, every year from different chapters, not only from this chapter but from different chapters, this kind of short find the syntax error or find the output. Okay, or what is the wrong in this problem, like that, and write down the answer for that. So this kind of problems comes every year to 2 marks, like that. Okay, so this year also it came. Okay, and this year from classes and object also one program came for 4 marks, that is in the next page. Okay, so I'll be explaining on that topic also. So if you see this program, okay, what is wrong in the following class declaration, what is wrong in the following class declaration. So in in exam time, if suppose if this comes, okay, so this will be only, this part will be given, what is wrong in the following class declaration, and this class program, this small class, the definition will be printed out, will be given in the text, in the question paper. So your duty is to understand what is wrong, find out what is wrong here, what is missing. Okay, and then write down the answers like this. Okay, so now the answers may not be exactly like this, but yes, it has to be similar. Okay, it has to be on point, what you're finding the error. So in this case, if you see that this is the class tag, the keyword. Now in all the programs that you have seen, uh, following the class keyword, there is always a class name. So without a class name, how can you declare an object? You need a class name to declare an object, right? Like in the case of this one, if you see this one, the here, what's that? Here, employee and EMB, right? Or here, employee X EMB. So here is the class name, here's the object. So similarly, like that, here you can see the error is there is no class name mentioned. So that is one error. Okay, so that's why here the class name is not given. Okay, or the class name is missing. So next, after that, here this is the variable declaration, or these are the data members which are declared. 3 data members are declared, a, b, sum. Since they are all of the same data type, so they are all written in the same line. Now that this is also not an error. Okay, this is in the class definition section, you have your what do you have your members declared, right? So 2 types of members are declared, that is the data members and then the member function, right? And based on the access specifier, private, public, protected, it is the members are specified. Now in this case, here in most of the programs you have seen that right after the class name, within the curly brackets, okay, the the keyword, the label public or private, you have usually seen. But in here, the label private followed by the colon is not shown, except that here it is written here public. Right now, in the case of this, even if this is the word private is not written, this is correct, because even if the access specifier, if no access specifier is mentioned for the variable declaration, okay, if the variables are declared and no access specifier is mentioned, it means that it is the data members are private. Okay, so if no access specifiers are mentioned for the data members, by default the data members or even the member functions are declared as private. Okay, but in the case of this, only the member function has been declared as public. Okay, so that means these data members, these three variables is uh, cannot be accessed by the object. Okay, so this is correct, but in here these are the member functions. Okay, so void ready and void display. So this is a function prototype, so the normal function declaration within the class definition, this is also correct. The ending of the class is also correct, terminated by a semicolon. But another error is there. This is public. What is this? This is the label. This is an access specifier, so it should end with a colon. That colon is missing, right? So keyword missing colon. Okay, so these two are the errors that are missing in that, so you have to find it out, you have to mark it, and then you have to write down the answers as it is, like this. Okay, so this in exam time, this same may come, or it may come in, say, like the variable names may be changed or similar may come. So you have to understand. Without understanding the class definition, or without understanding this concept, you cannot write down the answers randomly. Clear? So by this, I hope that you have understood what small errors has to be detected. Okay, so keep practicing on all these small programs. Okay, if you see the next one, what is wrong in the following program? Here the class the class has been defined as the class name employee. Okay, and within the body of the class name employee, you have the private access specifier. The data members has been declared as character name, an array, okay, of size 20, age which is of integer type, then void read. Now void read, as you can see that by this parenthesis, that this is a function declaration, but this is a function prototype which is private, so that means this member function is being declared as private. Okay, so again, using the public access specifier, another member function has been declared, uh, which has been declared as public. Okay, so void, that means this function does not return any value. Okay, and in the main function, here, so till here there is no error. Till the class definition section there is no error. Okay, but in the main function, okay, yes, there is one error here. Always a class is terminated by a semicolon. Okay, so that is the first error. Class should end with semicolon. Okay, second, now when we come back to here, using the class we are declaring an object by the name E. So this is object declaration. This is also correct. Again, when we come back to here, employee dot display, now this is wrong, because a class name is used to declare an object. A class name is used to create an object. Okay, so a class name is used only with an object, or a class name is used when the class definition is constructed. Okay, when a class is definition is there. So in the case of this, you cannot use the class name to access the member function. Then what for is this object created then? Okay, so the object was created so as to access the member function. So instead of this employee dot display, it should be e dot display. Okay, so that is the second error. Class functions are accessed through objects. Clear? So class functions are accessed through objects, not class name. Again, next, e dot read. Now this is normally this would be correct, but in this case it is not correct. Why? Because read function, read member function is a private member function, and the object cannot access private member function. The object can only access this public member function. So that's why the third error is private members are not accessible outside the class. Okay, so it is not accessible outside of the class. How can it be accessed? Only through the public member function. This private member function can be accessed only through the public member function, provided in the body of this function definition display, this member function void read is declared. Okay, is defined. So that way you see that three errors are declared. Okay, now in the case of this one, this is also very simple. Okay, declare a class employee having following members. So this will be given. So here you can see that the data members, so like this format will be given: employee number, employee name, employee address, employee department, the member functions to read data members to display. Okay, so here all the data members, okay, by default it is private, because it has not been written that it should be the access specifier should be public. Okay, and by default, since no access specifier is mentioned, so these data members are private. So in the case of the member function, okay, in the case of the member function, this is uh, public. Okay, this is public because in a class definition you need a one member function at least to access the data members or by the object. Okay, so in this case, void read, void display, so these are your public access specifiers. Okay, so since it says to read the data members, data members, so this function will read the data members. That means will accept the values uh, and store it in these variables, and this function will display void display will display through the cout statement whatever value has been entered in these data members. Okay, so now if we come back to the next page. Now in the next, oh yes, here. Yeah, question number 11. Okay, so practice on this in on this type of problems. That way you will get much better understanding about how to define a class. Okay, what does a class definition contains, how the data members are you how you write down the how you declare the data members, how you declare the member functions. Okay, so this is actually very helpful for you to understand the class concept. Okay, this is these programs, every all the programs here are actually like define a class. Okay, all these are incomplete programs. This is an incomplete program. This only shows you how to define the members of a class, and then yeah, to declare the member functions or to define the member functions. If you see the whole program of this is only half program, because the objects are not declared. Okay, the objects are not declared by the class, so you cannot run this program because this is only a half program. Okay, so now, so if you see this, define a class student with the following specification, so this for only this format will be given. This answer you have to write down yourself. Okay, so based on this data table, you have to create you have to define the class, and then you have to define the member functions or to declare the member functions. So understanding what is written here is very important for you. In exam time only this type of format will be given, so you, based on that, you have to create the variables and give a private access or public access, and then you have to define or declare the member functions and also the body of the member functions, like that. So first, if you see this private data members, so now you know that all these data members are private, so you have to explicitly declare it as private. So you have to write down uh, uh, you have to write down these data members as private. Okay, now whether you write down these private labels or not, okay, by default it will become private. So in the case of this admin number, so this is your variable name, so it will be of integer type, so that means int, and then s name 20 characters, so that means this is the students, suppose like the student's name, okay, so in short s name, so 20 characters, so this is an array name, okay, an array name of the size 20, so s name within the bracket 20. Okay, so if you see that as it is written here, define a class student. So by this question we know that the name of the class name will be student. So based on that, if you see the answer, the class student, and within the bracket, now we start declaring the data members. Now here the label private is not written here, but it is always a good programming practice that if it is written here, okay, you might as well write down here private, the label private, like this is written here public, you can write down here private. Okay, so after that, like I said, integer admin number, so admin number integer. Now always when we know that when you declare a variable, the data type is written first, after that after that the variable name is written, right? But in here it will be in this left and right format, so you have to interchange. Okay, so first int admin number, so same. Now as the keep in mind that how the variable name is written here in the text in the question, okay, that same way you have to use it in the program also when you're writing down. So if it is written there admno, you have to write like that. Okay, and if it is written there s name, you have to write down s name only. Okay, so in this case, yes, there is an error. See, character name, right? But in here it's written s name, right? So you have to write down here also, okay, like s name. So s name, the size is 20, so that means the student name will be up to 20 characters, 20 alphabets long maximum, and it cannot go beyond that. So next, English, math, science, float. So English, math, science, and total. So these four variables are of the data type float. So that's why under the same row, it has been declared as float. So which means that you have subjects English, maths, and science, and total. Okay. Now again, so this till this part I hope that you have understood. Okay, now again when we come to next part, now this is a member function. You see the parenthesis c total, but what type of member function? A private member function. Why? Because here you can see that this member function uh, is within the private data members section, so private. So immediately after these data members, these member functions will be written. So what is the purpose of this member function? Then it is been defined here, a function to calculate English plus maths plus science. Okay, so what we will do, it will calculate the subjects English, maths, and science. So that means that within this member function body, within this in this member function body, the body of this will be here English plus maths plus science. But if we calculate English plus maths plus science, the total of that must be stored somewhere, right? You cannot just write down in the function body English plus maths plus science, and then where will you store that value, the new value? Because you know that a variable can store only one value, right? So the outcome of these three, suppose like uh, 50 50 50, 150, where should it be stored, right? It cannot be stored here because this member function is only used for what? Invoking, calling code, and execute the this function body, right? So the outcome of this tree will be stored somewhere. Where will it be stored? Okay, so again we come back. So yes, we know that it will be stored in this total, but it has not been stated here, right? So when we come to the next line, you'll become more clear. So in that case, see, so uh, as per it, as per this statement, it says a function to calculate English, maths, and science. It does not say return any value, right? So by that we can see that when this function has been declared, okay, the return type is void. And since here the function in here within the parentheses, there is no parameter or no parameter type, so that means there is no this function does not pass any parameters or arguments. Okay, so the return type is also void because no return value is mentioned. Okay, now again when we come back to the next one, public member functions of class. So these two member functions, these are the two member functions which will access these data members, and these are declared as public, so that's why it is written here public. Okay, now after that when we come to the statement take data, so by this name also we should also keep in mind that the member function name should be given appropriate. Suppose like take data, input data, okay, show data, display data, or display or input values like that. So appropriate function name should be given so that the user or the programmer, whoever is using it or whoever is checking it, can understand from that. So now when we come to here, function to accept values for admin number, s name, eng, English, maths, science, and invoke c total to calculate total. So let's come to the first part. Function to accept values for admin number, all the variables till this much. Okay, so what does it mean to accept value? That means this function, the body of this function, in the body of this function, what this function will do is that the value that is being entered for admin number, student name, English, maths, and science will be accepted by this function. That means user will enter from the keyboard, and what value is entered through the cout and cin, that statement will be written in this function body. So that's why keep in mind that this is a function declaration, void take data. This is a normal function declaration, so it is not defined in the class. So how do you access the function body? Using the scope resolution operator, and we mentioned the class name. Okay, and the return type is void. Why? Because this function does not return any value. A simple cout cin statement is processed, right? So using the scope resolution operator, we are able to invoke this member function, okay, and access this member function. And this student denotes that this member function belongs to the class student. Okay, so as you can see that based on this function to accept data or accept values, so like that you can see here cout enter admission number, okay, cin admin number, cout enter the name, gets name. As you see that this is a string, so there might be blank spaces or white spaces in between, so for that reason we use the gets function, okay, because it eliminates white space, it ignores the white space, so it accepts from the keyboard. Okay, so similarly, cout enter the marks, you are enter the marks for English, you enter the marks for maths, and then you enter the marks for science. Now when we come back to the next line and invoke c total to calculate total, and invoke c total, that means in this function body, this private member function should be invoked or should be called. So this, the calling function of this should be in this function body to calculate total. So this completes to calculate total. So this completes the body of this member function. What should be written in this member function? English plus maths plus science total, right? where to calculate total. So here you get an idea that to calculate total means we have already declared the variable total, right? So that's why here in this function body we have the calling function. The c total is invoked. So when this c total is invoked, it calls this calling function. Okay, so this call function will execute this formula: English plus maths plus science is equal to total. So you see that uh, to calculate c total, to calculate total, right? So that value will be stored in another variable total. Okay, now normally in the program, okay, since here there's no, in this particular program there's no return type, there's no return value, right? Normally in every function body, okay, right after this formula gets executed, here you're supposed to write down cout, okay, total is, and then that value will be displayed. But according to this textbook, okay, since that is not mentioned, so it's better to ignore that and just write down as it is. Okay, yeah, otherwise you might not get marks if you write a totally different program format. Okay, so actually here the cout statement should be written. Okay, now again after that, next part is show data function to display all the data members on the screen. So all the data members on the screen, so for whatever value you have entered, it is you are supposed to display those values what you have entered for this admin number, uh, admission number, or student name, the marks, like that, right? So that's why this void student, okay, show data is there. So based on that, the cout statement is written. So cout name, and then admission number, total. Now actually as per the question, okay, as per the question, to display all the data members on the screen, right? So actually you are supposed to even display cout English marks, cout maths marks and science marks, but since that is not mentioned in here, okay, so you just write down as it this, like that. Okay, so I hope that you have understood by this. Okay, so like that, more programs are there. So I'll continue with the rest tomorrow. Okay, so like that, you just try practicing. Okay, yeah, the next question, question number 12, this came this year. This came for 4 marks. Okay, this came for 4 months. Your seniors, they attempted on this. If you see, I have these question papers, this year's one. So if you see this question number 25, it came for 4 marks. Okay, this is the same one. Define a class employee with the following specification. So it's, see, so if you understand this kind of class definition format, you easily can get 4 marks. But of course, since this it came this year, chances are it may not come uh, for your turn. Okay, but however another program might come. So every program is you should understand. Okay, likewise, as I told you, see, if you see that here, find the syntax error. So this kind of format, it comes for 2 marks. Okay, so programs will always come. So uh, theoretical questions are less in numbers, programs are more in numbers, so you need to focus on those programs. Okay, so tomorrow I'll continue with the rest of the problems. Okay, so I hope that you have understood, and yes, if you have any doubts, you can ask on that. So that will be all for today.